what's the best self-help you will ever give yourself? I feel like self-help hasn't been t- doing too well lately. Like I remember when all these books were coming out and it was like, all these like self-development podcasts, like Lewis Howes or the School of Greatness or what's his name, Jay Shetty's podcast. Like all these podcasts are like hot shit, and now I don't hear about them as much. I don't know if it's just what my algorithm feeds me, which is mostly jujitsu stuff and like end of the world shit. I don't know. I've been too much into like economic data and just AI stuff. But it's like crazy how like self development just kind of like like slowly stop being a thing. Um, and I was into that world for quite some time, and I think it's still crucial. But I think the ways we learn our own self development are the best way is whatever works for you, first of all. But secondly, I think that a lot of media, which consider bad, good, doesn't matter. I think a lot of media helps in our self development journey and like what we want to do. I'm biased too. I grew up watching a lot of anime, and I actually saw a Instagram the other day of a guy saying like that's the best self development you can ever have. It's like watching anime because like most of the stories are very similar, right? Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball Z, like all of them are very similar. You got one character. He's usually like some kind of orphan. His parents died. His parents aren't available. He's usually bullied or just not considered the strongest. And then he just trains super hard, um, finds the right mentors, and then becomes extremely powerful. And of course goes through all these challenging moments where they get super powerful, they meet someone who they cannot beat, and then they find a way, right? That's like the consistent story. If you watch any of the animes, Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, like all these animes follow the same kind of rhythm and pattern, just in different universes. And I feel that's the strongest way to learn is like by watching others. I think video games are saying, but one of the video games that really impacted me as the person I am today is like Final Fantasy VII. Like most of those characters are embodied. I embodied them, whether it's Cloud and just like figuring out who he is, his self identity, the truth that comes out, and how he has to accept it, and then fight his inner monster. Technically, right? Sephiroth is his inner monster that still exists and that always follows him, and that he's in a constant battle with throughout. Or you have like Red 13 who has to you know put on this facade to show how strong he is in many ways, but he's really just a kid and inside, right? Even though he's thousands of years old. Or Tifa holding on to a secret because she doesn't want to like embarrass her best friend or whatever the case may be. There's so many different I love the characters of Final Fantasy 7. But a lot of video games I grew up with also have those kind of like development hero's journey type of things, and I always felt that my life was following a similar pattern as well. I was lucky to have one of my parents growing up. Now I have both, but I was lucky to have at least one who cared about me. um, but I still kind of like was to myself, did things myself, figured things out on my own. Because my mother just never graduated. I mean, she graduated high school, but she never went to college. She had a kid at an early age. Yada yada. The whole story of most parents in the 70s and the 80s, if you're probably, not high income. So I think self development can be learned through many things. I think books are still important. I still, when I work with young folks, if they're open to reading, I always recommend the same books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, The 48 Laws of Power, The Laws of Nature, Human Nature, Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. There's a few others I'm totally blanking on, but I have a list on my phone. Actually, if you're interested, let me know and I'll create a book list. But I still provide the same timeless classics to learn how we should be with each other. I mean, I always say, like, I recently became a Christian, and don't click off yet if you're not a Christian, but I learned through reading the Bible that a lot of self development just comes from the Bible. It's kind of interesting how things are so cyclical and how we just package it differently, even though there's like an original work that has that already. And maybe it was a book before the Bible. I don't know. It's one of the oldest books, but there's also the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is another really old classic. And there's another one that I'm totally blanking on right now, but a lot of those books contain very similar self-development, how we should move through life, and they're great kind of compasses, guides to help us in how we should be. I mean, I wish more leaders or people in power understood these things, because I mean, the way they work, I don't think they understand these things. They're not trying to help us all. They're trying to help only themselves and their small families and their close buddies, which is honestly human nature. If I always say, if you were in that position, you probably do the same thing. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. We just need systems of accountability in place, because self-development can only work until it doesn't work. And then at that point, you need people around you. You need community that will hold you accountable. I'm actually reading a book right now called, I forgot what it's called. It's by this YouTuber, Peter Santello. I think it's called The American People or something like that. It's basically about like communities we have no idea exist in America, like, or we know very little about them, or we have a certain judgment about them. Like, I think the second chapter is on Chicano culture in LA, East LA specifically. I always thought those were gangs. And while they have that, they're not all that way. And there's like a history behind Chicano culture. And now it made me interested that when I go to LA, I'm like, maybe I should do a tour and just like learn about that culture. I think it's very interesting how they came to be. Or the Amish and how they live their lives in parts of Northeast America. Or I'm currently on the chapter of this Alaskan Native tribe that lives on this tiny island that from Florida takes the author 21 hours to get to. Three layovers, 2 regular ones, and then one where you have to take like a charter plane out of Alaska to reach this island of a few hundred people up in the north part of Alaska, where they can literally see Russia like from their beaches. And they just have huge tundras, and they live out there, man. It's wild. I haven't finished the chapter, so I won't go too much in depth, but it's just amazing to see these things and how these different people live and what that looks like, what that can teach us. And again, self-development, I think, comes in so many forms, and we can learn through so many ways, and so many ways other people live. And there's a consistent part of it and how they're all about community. They really care about one another. They take care of one another in these cultures. They're not as individualistic as Americans are. And I know I'm a strong individual person. Like, it's been hard to like be communal. Like, for me, that's been a learning path for me since I went to China back in 2016, 2017. Because a lot of the people around me are the same. They grew up in America. They're very individualistic. A lot of them really just care about themselves. But like right now, my fiance, my soon-to-be wife, is, she's Korean. They have a very communal culture. They care about each other. You know what I mean? And they, it's hard to even think that way, to be like, oh, this is going to be my family too. And it's hard to think that way, because it's like my family is not even that close. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I've always been so individualistic. But I'm learning, because of self-development. It's up until you die. Like, you're constantly improving. Hopefully you're not devolving. You only devolve if you choose to devolve. There's so many ways to be better. So I think this video is going on too long, but whatever you do, learn from it. Whatever you watch, the media you listen to, you watch, Like, learn from it. Take 3 takeaways from whatever you watch, listen to after a video game. I like to be, what did I learn from that game? Or watch a movie, what did I learn from that movie? Or like, what was it trying to teach me or remind me? Because a lot of things are cyclical, a lot of things are repeated, and sometimes just a reminder to yourself, right? And I think it's all to be a better human in society and to help one another, because we are the same species, right? So we should be here to support and help one another. We're one of the only creatures with empathy. We should use it. God bless.